The rain began just after sunset, a steady drumming that blurred the streetlights into soft halos. Thomas Reed was closing up the hardware store when he saw her standing under the awning across the road, soaked and shivering, clutching a canvas bag to her chest like it was the only thing keeping her upright. She didn't look like she belonged to the night. Her shoes were worn thin, her coat too light for the cold, and her eyes kept darting toward the end of the block as if she expected something, or someone, to appear. Thomas locked the door and pocketed the keys. He told himself to keep walking. Small towns had their share of trouble, and he'd learned long ago not to invite it home. But then she took a step toward him, hesitated, and spoke. "Please," she said, her voice barely louder than the rain. "Please let me stay tonight." Thomas stopped. He was a widower in his late 50s, with a quiet house and habits that hadn't changed since his wife passed 3 years earlier. He didn't drink, didn't gamble, didn't do much of anything reckless. He also didn't ignore people who were scared. He studied her face in the glow of the street lamp. She couldn't have been more than 20. There was a bruise blooming along her jaw, half hidden by damp hair. "Stay where?" he asked carefully. "Anywhere," she whispered. "Just somewhere safe." The word safe settled heavy between them. Thomas glanced down the street again. Empty. Just rain and shadows. "My name's Thomas," he said. "What's yours?" "Lena." "All right, Lena," he said, making a decision that felt like stepping off a familiar road. "I can't offer you my bed. But I can offer you safety." She nodded quickly, relief crashing over her so hard her knees almost gave out. He unlocked the truck and handed her a dry towel from behind the seat. She wrapped it around herself with trembling hands, eyes never leaving him, as if afraid he might vanish if she blinked. Thomas drove slowly, giving her time to breathe. The heater hummed to life, fogging the windows. She didn't speak, and he didn't press her. When they reached his house, a modest place at the edge of town, he parked under the porch light and cut the engine. "Ground rules," he said gently. "You'll sleep in the guest room. Door stays open if you want it open, closed if you want it closed. You eat if you're hungry. You leave when you're ready. No one hurts you here." Her eyes filled with tears she clearly didn't want to shed. "Thank you." Inside, Thomas handed her dry clothes, an old sweater, sweatpants that would be too long, and set a kettle on the stove. He moved with deliberate calm, the way he did when a storm knocked out power or a pipe burst in winter. Crisis didn't fluster him, it focused him. They sat at the kitchen table with mugs of tea. The rain softened to a whisper against the windows. "You don't have to tell me anything," he said. "But if there's someone looking for you, I need to know." Lena stared into her cup. "He won't come here," she said after a long moment. "He doesn't know this town." "Who is he?" "My stepfather." The word carried years of hurt in a single breath. "He drinks," she continued, voice flat. "Gets angry. Tonight he got angrier than usual. I left." "You did the right thing," Thomas said. She shook her head. "I didn't have a plan. I just walked." "That's still the right thing." Silence stretched. Not uncomfortable, just careful. When she finished her tea, Thomas showed her the guest room. Fresh sheets, a lamp by the bed, a folded blanket at the foot. "If you need anything, I'm down the hall," he said. She paused in the doorway. "You're really not worried?" "I am," he said honestly. "But I'm more worried about what happens if I send you back into the rain." That night, Thomas slept lightly, listening to the house. It felt fuller somehow, like a space that had been holding its breath finally let go. In the morning, Lena was already awake, sitting at the table with a notebook she'd pulled from her bag. She looked startled when he entered, then relaxed. "I can make breakfast," she said quickly. "You don't have to earn your stay," Thomas replied, reaching for the pan. "But you can help if you want." They ate eggs and toast. She smiled for the first time, a small, cautious curve of her lips that made her look younger, almost like a kid. Over the next few days, Lena stayed. Thomas helped her call a women's shelter in the next county. They discussed options. Finishing school, finding work, building something that didn't involve running. He drove her to appointments and waited in the truck, reading the paper. One afternoon, a car slowed in front of the house. Lena froze, color draining from her face. Thomas stepped onto the porch, calm and solid. The car rolled on. "He's not welcome here," Thomas said, as if stating a fact of nature. That night, Lena sat across from him, eyes bright with determination. I found a program, she said. They can help me get my GED in a job placement. When do you start? Monday. Thomas nodded. Pride swelled quietly in his chest. The morning she left, the sun was out, the world rinsed clean by days of rain. She hugged him, brief but fierce. You gave me more than a place to sleep, she said. You gave me safety. Thomas watched her go, the truck disappearing down the road. The house was quiet again, but it didn't feel empty. Some nights, when the rain returned, Thomas thought of the moment she'd stood under the awning and whispered her plea. He knew he'd made the right choice.